Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to the Buckeye Roast. Another day. My guy Ron, how you doing?
Pretty good, pretty good, pretty good. Scrambling a little bit last minute. My hat wasn't straight when we started the show, but we are here.
We are. What's going on in the chat? I see give my guy Javon a shout out. He was the first one in the chat this morning, and he said listening on the way to school. He's a teacher, so shout out to the teachers out there, man. He had to get educated somehow, and I'm sure they helped
Pay
him.
the teachers.
All right, so appreciate you. What's going on, everybody? See Emily in here, it's Plug is in here, Matthew's in here. Pretty sure I seen Posh in here. So good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Buckeye Roast. So today got a lot of things to talk about. We're pulling out a lot of stuff to talk about with not a lot going on as far as pressers. I don't know where we get all this news from, but we put it together somehow.
I know, bro. I looked at the show notes this morning and we had 2 pages worth of notes, and I'm like, why did we write such a long show?
Oh man, so couple of things we got for you today, but before we get into that, everybody like the video. If you are on Twitter, go ahead like and throw a retweet so people can see, especially in the community. We're trying to get the video out there, and I think streaming on my Twitter, so throw a follow on that. Help your boy out. Also podcasts, Apple Podcasts. Leave a 5-star review. Do that. Leave a question. Leave a note. Leave a comment. All that good stuff. A review. We accept that. And Spotify as well. We're also trying to get 100 followers on Facebook. Ron, do you know where we're at as far
We're
as
at
Facebook?
46. We still need 44 more followers. So if you guys have a big following on Facebook, go in, find that page, go to invite members, and invite all the Buckeyes that you know. We're trying to get to 100 so we could bring this show to Facebook, but we're struggling.
Yeah, we're over half. We're over halfway. So it's not a. I guess not really. We're a little under halfway, but let's say
Yeah.
46.
Again,
We're
pay
under
the
halfway.
teachers so Q knows what's half of 100.
This is why. So I should not be working in finance. Oh man, but yeah, help us out on Facebook. Another thing I think we're gonna do, I'll ask Ron this. Posh said Sanders watch, his time is coming on Saturday. He will commit, or will we be in attendance for that?
Yes, we will be doing a live show on Saturday for the David Sanders decision.
Yeah, so we'll hop in a little early, talk some recruiting. So if you're free Saturday, I guess morning, or if you're here early afternoon, if you're where Ron's at, go ahead and join us for that. That's all I got as far as the opening. Ron, you got anything before we get started?
Let's do it.
All right, everything covered. Okay, so of course, we got to start the show with a list, a list or two. It's probably my favorite thing so far. That's on Ron's nerves. So the Pro Football Focus top 50 freaks list. Let me throw that in there. Not really the freaks list, but the best players in college football. Players 21 through 30 dropped yesterday. And Ohio State's Jack Sawyer was the only player in 21 through 30. He is at 21. So notable players for 21 through 30, we got Colston Loveland, the Michigan tight end. He was at 24. Harold Perkins at 25 and Taz Johnson at 30. But this segment of the list was Big Ten loaded. 6 players in the Big Ten made 21 through 30. So some talent in the Big Ten, according to Pro Football Focus. Some really good players. But Ron, I want to talk to you about Jack Sawyer's position. 21. Where do you think?
If Jack Sawyer is 21, there has to be, 4 more Buckeyes on the list?
There's got to be a few.
That's crazy because, we talked about this earlier in the week, and my guess was the Buckeyes would have 3 people on the list, and we're at 2 before the final 20, and I would assume at least Judkins and Downs would be after Jack Sawyer, so I'm shocked to see this many Buckeyes. I definitely think the over is going to hit. I thought I took under 3.5, and it looks like we're definitely going to be hitting the over there.
Yeah, we're at 2. Yeah, with Jack Sawyer, there's got to be at least a few more. Tez Johnson from Oregon going above Emeka Egbuka. So obviously, competition for the best wide receiver in the Big Ten will be there. I wonder if they have the balls to put Jeremiah Smith in this top 20. That's probably my biggest question going forward. Do they have the balls to really do that? Did they have him rated as the best player in the Big Ten with no Pro Football Focus data? I think that's a good question. So something we'll keep an eye on. And Harold Perkins below Jack Sawyer is absolutely crazy.
But Harold Perkins had a step back last season, so it's not surprising. A lot of people were disappointed in his performance. I mean, new defensive coordinator last year, doing a little bit a different role than he was asked his freshman year. And then they brought in another one, so it looks like they're going to be trying to get Harold Perkins right. You know that we have been big fans of Harold Perkins for a while now, talking about the speed and versatility at linebacker. I mean, Harold Perkins has been starting for 2 years at LSU and was ranked behind C.J. Hicks.
Yeah, that's great. I think if you looked at linebackers going into the season, Harold Perkins is definitely one of the first couple you're probably taking, no matter what fan base you are. So we'll see if he gets back at it. A little motivation for him. But shout out to Jack Sawyer, man. Let's hope he plays to that status. And if he does, Ohio, if he's the 21st best player in college football, Ohio State fans will be very happy. Okay, moving on. We also had some big news yesterday that I'm ready to get your reaction to. This is the one I was like, okay, let's see. So we know the award lists are coming out. The watch lists are out for the preseason. The Butkus Award watch list for the best linebackers in the country. Ohio State had 2 players up there. Their names were not Cody Simon. It was Sonny Styles and CJ Hicks. Both made the Butkus Watch Award list. Some people on Twitter were not happy with that. Some people on Twitter were very happy with them realizing the talent in his Ohio State linebacker room. All indications is Cody Simon will start at Mike linebacker. We've not heard anything different to this point. What is your reaction to those 2 making the list?
I mean, send a prayer to the CJ Hicks haters because they were in fucking shambles yesterday seeing CJ on the watch list. It's almost like everyone else can see the talent and potential except for the people that are convinced themselves that he will never play here. I do think that Cody Simon should have been mentioned in there. He has the most playing time out of the 2. Sonny hasn't really repped much at linebacker. CJ Hicks hasn't had an opportunity to get on the field, but I think all 3 of those guys are both going to be high quality linebackers. I mean, we talked about it being a position of improvement in years past. The corners were a struggle. The linebackers were a struggle. Waldo's gotten the corners right. Laurinaitis seems to have gotten the linebackers right. And I think for the first time in the Ryan Day era, this is going to feel like a position of strength this year. And I feel like nationally, people are taking notice in the upgrade of athleticism at that position. And that's why those guys are ranked so high during the preseason.
Yeah, definitely a boost of confidence for CJ Hicks and the CJ Hicks fan base. I think it's interesting. He did get a lot of a lot of kickback from guys that are Cody Simon's fans, but I think all of these guys are going to have a chance to go for all Big Ten linebacker. I think they'll all get the opportunity, and we will see. I don't think we know for me, and this is just my thoughts. I don't think we know who the best linebacker on this team is. I think Sonny Styles is the best player among this group. I think he's proven that with his play last season. Like I said, I thought he might have been in the top 5 best players on the team, and all indications is he probably will start and split some reps with CJ Hicks. So it's kind of funny. You got them both on the watch list, and they're just battling to get on the field with each other.
One of them will be great. It seems like the sentiment.
That's quite the starting. It's quite the job. One of you will win the Buckets, whoever wins this job. So we will see there, but that's a good boost for our linebacker rooms, and it's good to see those guys get recognition. And I believe the next segment is yours. So everybody drop a like on the video. Go ahead and do that. We get an OH in the chat, and let's get to it.
Yeah, let's wake that chat up. Let's get these numbers going. If you're watching on Twitter, make sure you throw a like and a retweet on that video. If you're on YouTube, smash that like button. But you guys see the topic. It's time to get right into it. Ryan Day. A list came out yesterday of the top coaches in college football by PFF. And Ryan Day, let's take this banner off. And that speaks to the disrespect. We have a banner up here covering 9 and 10, and you can't even see Ryan Day's name. Q, is Ryan Day a top 10 coach in college football?
I believe there's no doubt in question he's a top 10 coach. And I believe there's no doubt in question that he's not 10. That is probably the most clickbaity list. Now, we know how they get with these lists. We know Ohio State has a massive fan base, and they like to piss us off. And this seems is right down the alley of pissing everybody off, because having all these guys above Ryan Day, where I don't think very many of them have better resumes. I mean, probably Kirby, Dabo, Brian Kelly's been around for a long time, but I don't really think any of them have better resumes, especially in the amount of time Ryan Day's been coaching. And I look at this list a little different, and I know we put our thoughts in it and put a coaches list together. But if you were to start a program, who are you starting with today? Not 5 years ago, not in 5 years. If we had to play ball this season, I would think, who are you picking first, second, third, fourth? And I don't think Ryan Day is 10th on that list.
Yeah, there's no way you're taking some of these guys. You look at their resumes and they just don't match up. We're going to get to Dan Lanning later. I don't understand the hype around this guy and why everyone's so ready to crown and anoint him, but we'll definitely get to that. But we put together our own top 5 list. I just want to run down some Ryan Day statistics though before we move on. Ryan Day has 2 conference championships. He's 2-4 in bowls and 1-3 in the playoffs. Some of these coaches on this list haven't even made the playoffs. Some of them have never won conference championships. How these coaches are ranked above Ryan Day, I feel like what Michigan has done in the last 3 years to Ohio State has tarnished Ryan Day's reputation in the college football landscape, despite still having the highest winning percentage of any coach in college football history. So, not named Knute Rockne. That's the only person that has a higher winning percentage than Ryan Day, yet he's 10th on this list. If it's not about playoff appearances, conference championships, winning percentage, what is this list based off of? Feels? Vibes? I don't get it.
Yeah, look at this list. I mean, it's kind of hard. I mean, Mike Norvell is a guy who's just turned that program around.
Someone saw him with, braids and was like, you know what? This guy got swag. Put him in the top 10. I saw him with braids when he was in college. I don't get it.
Yeah, he's one. I mean, I like Mike Norvell. Kyle Whittingham is a guy you almost can't really judge at Utah. That's a program that clearly has a ceiling cap. They always play good ball, but could he do the same thing at Ohio State or another big time school? I don't think you really know, but that doesn't mean the answer is yes. Brian Kelly's a guy who's at pretty much an Ohio State in the South and LSU. We know the amount of talent, they get in year out, and he has not, been at the top there. So it's an interesting list. And Lane Kiffin, I mean, I love Lane Kiffin, but let's be fuck for real. This is crazy. So you want to start? We put ours together. You want to start? You want me to start?
We'll let you start. Q, you are just hired at Arizona State. You got to turn a party school into a football power. Unlimited resources. Who is your short list of head coaches?
First of all, if I get Arizona State, we win a natty because I have the best. I have the best recruiting staff at my proposal. I can personally guarantee you, the recruiting staff is going crazy. I'm just saying. The scouting reports are true. So this was actually pretty darn difficult. I'm not gonna lie. Just think we have a lot of good younger coaches in college football. That's what this made me think about. So obviously I got to start with Kirby. Won back-to-back. Once he got over the hump against Nick Saban, he really hasn't looked back. He did take the loss last year, but that was their one loss. And I thought if they were in the playoffs, they probably would have ran a three-peat. But I will start with Kirby. I think he's up there. I think he's earned it, and he's beat Ryan Day. Second, I'm going with my coach. I said it yesterday on the show. I said I think there's no one outside of Kirby that really has anything over Ryan Day. As of now, if we go to ball today, Ryan Day has elevated this offseason. I feel like a different culture is coming to Ohio State. I feel like he is making good decisions. He fell down that Dabo road for a little bit of coaches that were very inexperienced. He was throwing guys a chance and it didn't work for him. He went out and said, you know what? I'm not doing that no more. I'm getting guys that I know are going to come in. And I think his hires out of that little stint have been excellent in putting together this staff. I mean, you look around the staff, that's one of the best in America. And it's like that year in, year out. So I would take Day second. I think this is the year he gets it done, obviously, and we will see by the end of the season. But I think Ryan is going to answer a lot of critics. 3 was very difficult, but I'm going with Kalen DeBoer. I think Kalen DeBoer has proven at every level he can win. I think he has proven that when he goes to Alabama, like we all was like, oh, Alabama's about to fall off a cliff, and this man set the recruiting world on fire. You see the offensive line class they're put in, and I think it's my message, Justin Fry, in the chat. We can only dream of that offensive line class they are putting together at Alabama right now. I will say Fry on the field has done well. We just got to get the recruiting portion. So still to judge on that. But Kalen DeBoer, I will put at number 3. This one might be a little bit of a risk here, but I'm taking Mike Norvell at 4. I think the way he turned around Florida State, a lot of rumors out there was Mike Norvell was going to get fired. He was out of there. It was just only a matter of time. I think Zach on Menace was one of the few people who had backed Mike Norvell. I think Mike Norvell is a really good coach. They got kind of shafted last year, missing out of the playoffs. Do I think they were one of the best 4 teams? No, but I think the roster that he put together last year is going to be a blueprint of future to come. So I really like Mike Norvell and the way he turned around that program. Obviously, one of the big names had to get left off. The last guy that I put at 5 was Dan Lanning. I don't think he has the accomplishments yet to battle with the other coaches.
When's he going to get him? He plays in the same conference as Ryan Day. If that's your number 1 coach, it don't sound like he's getting many accomplishments anytime soon.
Yeah, that is unfortunate for him. But I think the way that he has turned this Oregon program around, and you think about it, and I looked, Sark was another guy I considered, but the way Dan Lanning has that program buzzing over there, Sark has way more resources than Dan Lanning. I mean, Texas runs 50 players? 50, and I know you're going to talk about the Nike money, but Texas has 50 players in the top 200-300 every year.
Sounds like
extremely talented, and we're talking about Texas as just okay. Now they might get it done, and I feel like Oregon is at that same level where you look at Oregon like, oh shit, like they're no longer like up and coming. He's not, just flipping that program around. Like they're here, and we have a very real game in the middle of the season. I like the way Dan Lanning runs his program. He has that defense buzzing. The offense, he's made good hires, and a lot of those guys. His coordinator already took a head coaching job, so I think he's putting out good coaches. I think he's putting together a good culture for his program. Not really messing with the team out west slogan, but I really like Dan Lanning, so he's going to make my top 5.
I can't believe you portrayed them as like some up and coming startup, like shaking cans for money in front of Walmart.
I know they got the Nike
fund their IL. Like you got to be kidding me! Lack of resources at Oregon.
It's not Texas. I would definitely go to Texas and take the resources there before I go to Oregon because they are not lacking in money either, and they have the talent already in the state.
Well, I'm going to break some news before I start my list. Dan Lanning's not on it. So here's my top 5. Kirby at number 1, obviously, 2-time national champion. What he was able to build, what he has built at Georgia has been remarkable, and it feels like he's trying to lay claim to the next Nick Saban in the sport. So I'm definitely going to have Kirby at 1. I have Kalen DeBoer at 2. You talked about resources earlier, and I sat and I looked, and I wanted to put Ryan Day at 2, and I put their resumes next to each other, and I said, this guy has the same playoff record as Ryan Day at Washington. Like nowhere near the resources of Ohio State. What he has been able to build there is remarkable. His staff hirings have been great. He's been able to keep the train on track at Alabama. You haven't seen much fall off. While some of their in-state recruiting isn't the same, their national footprint has remained the same. Their class is amazing. You talked about the offensive line. Big fan of Kalen DeBoer. Ryan Day at number 3, and that's why I feel like this list is so disrespectful. Okay, I can get it if he's not 1, not 2, not 3. 9 coaches ahead of him? Absolutely no way. We read his resume off earlier. First in winning percentage. Doesn't have quite the hardware or the success in the postseason that you would like to see. But, I mean, you could make the same arguments about Kirby before his first national championship. So Ryan Day is at 3 for me. I know this is about present-day coach, but there's just something in me that's not going to let a 2-time national champion not be on this list. I have Dabo Wiene at number 4, even though I'm not a fan of him. It pains me to say it, but as much as I like to disrespect Clemson, I like to disrespect Dabo. I cannot disrespect him so much that I take him off this list despite being a 2-time national championship. I don't know what the hell he's doing with his beef with the transfer portal, and I don't know if God's NIL doesn't clear when you go to pay in the transfer portal. I don't know what he has going on, but something's off with Dabo, but I still can't take him out of the top 5 just because of hardware. And you went with Dan Lanning. I went with Sark. I personally like what they're doing down there more. I mean, he's beat his rival. I think that Sark and what he's building at Texas is more of a juggernaut than what we see at Oregon. And while Oregon is higher in the preseason polls, I think that Texas is being slightly slept on in comparison while everyone's looking at the shiny new toy in Dan Lanning. And that's my top 5. So I just want to jump into some of the stats about Dan Lanning that we have. Dan Lanning's best win, Q. Would you happen to know who it is without looking at the notes?
I've already cheated. And I've looked at the notes
Did it surprise you when you saw the name? And let the audience know who Dan Lanning's best win is in the chat. If you guys want to guess, let us know. But this was shocking to me because I've heard this phrase in spaces a lot. What's Dan Lanning's best win? What's Dan Lanning's best win? I've never went and really looked it up. Q, what do we have?
You've marked Dan Lanning's best win is against Oregon State with no playoff appearances.
No playoff appearances. Your best win is against Oregon State. Losses to the Dogs. I saw a stat the other day that Dan Lanning is 0-4 against teams who've trademarked the phrase Dogs. 0-3 against Washington. 0-1 against the Georgia Bulldogs. Where is this hype coming from? No playoff appearances. You've lost to your rival. I mean, they're ready to run Ryan Day out of the Woody with pitchforks because he's lost to his rival 3 times in a row. Dan Lanning said, hold my beer, I'll do it in fucking 2 years. Can't beat his rival. I mean, he has a loss to Oregon State. That's his best win, but he also has a loss to them. You're losing to both your rivals. You're not making the playoffs, but you have a cool video smoking a cigar. I don't get the hype. Q, explain it to me. Please help me understand where this hype for this man is coming from when Ryan Day is almost not a top 10 quarterback. And this guy takes over a program that we saw Mario Cristobal, who had a fucking losing record in the G5, take over Oregon and win 2 Pac-12 championships. Where's the hardware for Dan Lanning? Where is this hype? I don't see him coming to the Big Ten and winning a conference championship. So that's, again, if he comes and takes over this team, that's less success than Mario Cristobal when he took over the team. Why does everyone love this man?
I think it was Dan Lanning's ability to flip the vibe and make it feel like an SEC program out west. I mean, Dan Lanning is a guy who it's almost a feeling like that, like the guys that you want to play for around the nation. And I feel like the success hasn't come. I mean, there's no excuse for losing to Washington twice in one season. I think we all have believed. And at one point, I think we talked about the show last year, and I think you mentioned that Oregon was the one team you were afraid of coming down to the playoffs. A good steel trap memory here. I do remember that. So it's the vibe coming out of the program. I think Dan Lanning is a really good coach. We know he grew up in the school of Kirby, we grew up in the school of Nick Saban, and I feel like he's definitely in this NIL era. Oregon is going to be, I believe, going forward, especially for the next few seasons, that opposite of Ohio State. They will be the ones to be battling. They've really took over the West Coast. And, yeah, he doesn't have a best win really because the Pac-12 out there has really fell off the map. And it doesn't do you any good to go put
Georgia the Pac-12?
It doesn't exist anymore. It's the Pac-12 now. But USC has not been what they were. Washington had that crazy year last year, where I think they surprised everyone. They surprised everybody beating Texas as well, and Sark, who you have on your list. So I believe DeBoer is just that good of a coach, and I do have him better than Dan Lanning. But it's just the vibe I get out of that program, how Dan Lanning's run it, how he's flipped it, and you see the talent he's pulling in. You see what he did with Bo Nix and that offense, really bringing it back to as successful as back where the Chip Kelly days were. So I like where that trajectory is going. And so it was really between him and Sark for that last one. And I said, you know, if I was at Texas or if I was at Oregon, where would I rather be with the resources around? I believe Texas, with the talent just in the state to pull from, makes that an easier job. So that is why I gave him the notch over Sark. But I do trust Dan Lanning. I don't know. It's just a vibe I get, man. Maybe just I like.
Hey, that's what I said. What are we just going on? Vibes and feels. Yeah. Oh, he's cute. I think he should be the head coach. Like, what are we doing here? Like, man. What is analysis are you coming up with to decide? Oh man, I just like the way he makes me feel. Like, okay.
Well, he will have a lot better chance of getting those quality wins in the Big Ten. You're gonna play 4 or 5 ranked opponents a season, especially if you go all the way through. So if he's gonna earn his weight in gold, it's the time. It's the time now. I don't think that Oregon State best win in your eyes will last too much longer.
Our guy Goja in the chat said, maybe it is just vibes. Sue me. As long as we're honest.
I like Dan Lanning. And we know, Chris. Chris loves Dan Lanning. He loves Dan Lanning too. So I'm not the only one feeling the vibes.
Our guy Jason Watkins says, fellas, Sark has won 10-win season in 10 years. Hey, I'm not rolling out Sark in a divorce year. He might be going crazy. He's fully focused. You know what I mean? He's put his demons behind him. He's fully focused on the team. He's single. Single Sark. Watch out. Man, and we have the participation playoffs. All of these coaches are going to get to fucking make the playoffs this year because everyone makes the playoffs now. It's like the NBA.
No, yeah, man. I mean, Sark is a good call. I like his offensive mind. I mean, I would rather go with a young defensive mind in this world of college football because we know teams are going to put up points, but who can keep them to the minimum? And right now, Kirby is at the top of like, oh, I'll hold you just enough to beat you. So I think Dan Lanning kind of follows that track mark. But this is a big year for Sark as well, and I think at the end of the season, this is something we should revisit because I think all of these teams are at a point where it's like, win or shut up, Ryan Day. Win or shut up, Dan Lanning. Win or shut up, Sark. Win or shut up. I think Kalen DeBoer. It's kind of crazy. His first name's Kalen for a white guy. Yeah, I thought about that as soon as I saw that list. I'm like, who named this man Kalen? But I think he's the only one walking into the Bama job that people may be like, okay, just give him a little bit of time if he doesn't, compete for a natty. Really compete for a natty this season, but I think they will be at the top of the SEC along with Georgia and Texas. So it's a put up or shut up year for these coaches.
Absolutely a put up or shut up year. Yesterday on the show, we talked about the Rockstar head coach or the Rockstar position coaches on staff and suggested that James Laurinaitis is starting to throw his name in the hat with Brian Hartline and Tim Walton for one of the best position coaches in the country when it comes to being on the recruiting trail. But we got to circle back to what OG Walt is doing for this team. Top DB classes by On3 industry rankings. Taking a look at this list, man, the Buckeyes clearly have the best class in the country with Devin Sanchez, Naeem Offer, Deshaun Stewart, Fahim Delaney, Cody Haddad. I mean, you look at the list, you have two five-star corners. In 2023, the entire Big Ten didn't have 2 5-stars across every team and every position. So the fact that Tim Walton was able to put 2 5-star cornerbacks in his room, which is more than the entire Big Ten was able to put in their conference 2 years ago, just speaks to what he's been able to do in transforming that room. You see Deshaun Stewart, Fahim Delaney, and Cody Haddad. Matt G comes in, picks up right where Perry Alolano left off, lands Fahim Delaney, one of the best safeties in the class. Deshaun Stewart, complete baller. Him and actually, we have a graphic here. Him and Devin Sanchez won an OT7 national championship in 7-on-7 with SFE. The SFE pipeline continues with these guys. Just your initial thoughts on the class that Tim Walton and Matt G have been able to put together in the Ohio State secondary.
Just Tim Walton early on setting the tone with the 2 5-star corners and Devin Sanchez and Naeem Alford, who was a big time pull out of Alabama. And if he is able to hold that commitment, which we're all pretty confident he will, that's a big time get. I mean, that's an elite move to get in there and say, oh, Saban's gone. Hey, you, what are you doing? Come up here to Ohio and play some football. So just starting there, I mean, Tim Walton has done his job already in the class. As far as the secondary class in a whole, Deshaun Stewart is a little underrated from the guys that we talked about earlier in the year, but he's getting a lot of hype off the SEC train. So he's another guy who's good. Cody Haddad is super talented. I know he only ranks as a 3-star, but he's a talented guy. But I just feel like this is a solid class. I mean, we think at our expectations at the beginning of the year, we were like, we might have 5 stars in this class.
When you talk about 5 stars, let's jump right into it. You look at this list, man, and there's a lot of familiar names on it. Blake Woodby, former Ohio State commit. Jonte Gilbert at Georgia, former Ohio State commit. Trey McNutt, Ohio State legacy. This guy is from Shaker Heights. Matt G lives 19 minutes away from Shaker Heights. How do we miss that? That is a 5-star on the table. Dorian Brew, another Ohio State legacy. Mother in the Ohio State Athletic Hall of Fame. First outdoor women's track championship for the university, and he's at Oregon. So we have 2 decommits, 2 in-state borderline 5 stars. What are your thoughts? This class could have been a generational recruiting class with some of the guys that have been associated with this class.
Yeah, at the time, people thought it would have been Devin Sanchez, Naheem Arfa, Blake Woodby, and then Trey McNutt, Dorian Brew, Fahim Delane. That's what people thought the class was like. I'm like, damn, that would feed families. That would be an insane class. But it just looks at where the class could be in the talent that is starting to come through Ohio. And I think is more on of a different conversation of really, I think all the talented athletes in Ohio, you have to really work hard to keep those guys in. And the talent, like Cam has been saying, is really coming up. It sucks to see, Trey McNutt and Dorian Brew both in green over there. I was hoping we could give one to pair with Fahim Delane. I mean, I don't need both. I'm not going to be so. It would be nice, but I was hoping we get one at safety because I think Brew projects as a better safety than corner. And I also think the relationship, and this is a shout out to Perry Eliano. That was one where Berm talked about it a lot. Perry Eliano had a really good relationship with Brew before he was about to commit. And when he left, things changed a little bit. We were able to, salvage things with Delane, but obviously Brew went the other way. So, but a lot of these names are very familiar, and it just makes me think year in, year out, Ohio State is going to be one of the best classes in the nation, especially in the cornerback room and maybe even in the safety room as we see the guys we're considering.
Absolutely, and I think Dorian Brew is the name that you're going to want to keep an eye on. I don't think the Buckeyes have completely conceded that recruitment. I'm sure they're going to try to get him back on campus for at least one game this season. So, I mean, we've seen flips before. Oregon's flipped people from us on signing day, so it's definitely a name to keep an eye on. But it's nice to see the Buckeyes asserting themselves and Matt G being able to step up and step right in and land a class that fits in with the quality of players that Tim Walton's bringing in here, and you didn't see a massive dip in the safety room recruiting after bringing in a new coach. So to see the Buckeyes have one of the top DB classes in the country, despite adding a new coach, getting rid of Perry Eliano, and I mean, Tim Walton only being on the job for 2 years, I think that's commendable to see what the Buckeyes are doing recruiting in the secondary.
Yeah, and then also to see Auburn up there. Look at Auburn trying to play some good football, man. Let's hope it's not where talent goes to die, and and they actually come back to prominence in the SEC full of talent like that. Because I know a lot of programs we see these guys and we see the stars, we never see them again. So I don't want that to happen to anybody. So let's hope they develop and get some guys out down there.
Absolutely. Next up on the list today that we got to get to, and it feels like every day we're talking about this guy. And I mean, I think we might have to give him an award. He might be the Parker Fleming of the year. Justin Fry. It feels like we're talking about this dude every day. Our guy Juck with an absolute banger on Twitter yesterday. 6'7", lean, 290-pound, true O-tackle, long arms, quick feet, 4-star, top 200 overall. One of the 3 best linemen in the class of 26, 32 offers total, no Buckeye offer. We talk about the offensive line that Sark has put together down in Texas, and he's up in Ohio stealing recruits that Justin Fry's not even offering. It seems like every day the case is mounting against this guy being competent enough to be the coach. I would have to ask you at this point, is there enough that he can do on the field that will save his job regardless of what he gets done on the trail? Because it feels like it's getting to a point where he can't stay as the coach.
Of course, you give me these questions like I got the answers. Man, on the trail, it has been very rough for Justin Fry. I think we looked at this season like, okay, he's been here for a couple of years now. He's going to start to turn it around. And we had a good list of guys, and he almost got none of them. It seems, and like I said, you never want to put yourself in position where you got to land the best tackle in the country to quote unquote keep your job.
But he's not. But he's not even offering the in-state guys. It's like, hey, buddy, if you can't land the number 1 tackle, how about the 6'7" guy right up the street? It makes absolutely no sense. This guy has offers from Tennessee, Miami, Florida, MSU, Auburn. Why not extend the offer just as an olive branch?
I mean, why not just go get some good athletes at tackle? And if your key card is development, develop them. Georgia went and got what, 2 tackles in New Jersey last year? Like they're right there. Like it's not a far drive. I mean, heck, take Cody Simon with you. Go drive over there. Hey guys, hey, we play football in Ohio. You ain't got to go all the way to Georgia. Come over here. And I say this because I talked with Chris Drew about this a while ago on Chris's Corner. Basically, I was like, Justin Fry, we get into these things where like, oh, these big guys, we got to get them out the South. You know, all the linemen are in the, the SEC country. It's hard to get those guys to come up here. People don't realize the amount of talent in linemen in the Midwest. Like skill position wise, maybe it's lacking in some states, but linemen, they are all over the Midwest. Iowa does it every year, pulling out guys where you're like, this dude's a freak show. Like, where did he come from? Oh, he's just playing ball in Iowa. Like, all these states have guys that Alabama offers more, Georgia offers more. Now it's looking like Texas is offering more. There's a lot of talent up here. So if Justin Fry just zoned in on the Midwest, he could get a good O-line class every year, but he seems to not be doing it. And I believe eventually, it really eventually you're not going to be able to produce the amount of talent on the field to keep your job. You don't have any talent. Like you can only develop, high talented guys to these first round picks and these Ohio State standards of linemen. So it's going to run out eventually where you're just going to get a guy who can't play, and that's going to be your job.
Absolutely. I have some more stats about Justin Fry, but before we get into that, a little housekeeping. Make sure you follow our guy, Juck. You see his handle right up there on the screen. Check out his show on Menace to Sports. Also, if you're watching on Twitter, like and retweet the video. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you smash that like button. Throw an OH in the chat. Q, I have some stats regarding Justin Fry. Jay both put out a tweet yesterday with some concerning stats regarding Fry. 17% closing percentage on his offers. 16 offers in the 26 class versus Bama's 40 out so far. 17 out-of-state visits. He's only landed 3 of those recruits. Only 1 in the top 247, and that player was from Justin Fry's home state of Indiana. How concerning are these statistics?
I mean, it just sounds like to me you need to offer more guys on this. And Cam Thomas, you said it in the chat. This is on Ryan Day and Pantone too. It is like it. This is a team effort. It is not just Justin Fry. I mean, you're the head coach. You realize you're lacking at a position group. You need to go help or get some assistance or hire. I don't know, hire a young lineman fresh out the NFL to play at Ohio State that maybe can relate better. But you got to do something. But you got to give this guy a little bit of help because he doesn't be able to seem to get it done. That is not good, especially when you're not offering as many guys. Like, there's no reason Georgia, Alabama, and Texas, like I said, should be offering more guys in the Midwest, especially, and overall than you. What do? You do what the greats do. If somebody else is doing this and is working successfully for them, maybe just try that. Maybe try something different. I think the percentages, 70% of the guys you offer landing and closing. I mean, that's fine if you're offering enough guys for that to be a 5-man class year in, year out.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to be at 17%, you got to offer more people, I would say. Like, you're not really helping us out if you're offering 10 people and landing 17%. Like, what are we going to do with 1.7 offensive linemen?
One guy from Ohio.
That's what I'm saying, man. We got to get out there and get these offers, especially like the one time me and Chris did this exercise of going through old recruiting classes, and it was like, how bad would it be if you just said, fuck it, we're taking the top 10 kids in Ohio every year. I don't care what their ranking is. We're taking the top 10 kids in Ohio, and that is an Ohio State staple. Top 10 kids, if you're ranked, we're taking them. I think there were like maybe 4 misses. It's like, go get them. Like, and who cares if they sit at the end of the roster? Like, we have a transfer portal. Let these Ohio kids that want to be here in these development positions, and especially with the expanded scholarship limit up to 105, those need to be used on developmental positions like defensive line and offensive line, where you can have guys whose bodies may not quite be ready. You saw Juck mention the guy has a leaner frame for a tackle. Put him on the back of the roster. Let him get in with Nick for a year or two. Don't even say his name until he's a junior, and then maybe he'll be ready. They need to use these back-end roster positions to fill out some of these development roles and take some more chances on guys. People always bring up DeJuan Jones when they talk about, oh, Justin Fry was able to get him right. Oh, look what Stud did. He found a diamond in the rough. A diamond in the rough? A 6'7", 300-pound power forward playing state championship caliber Division II level fucking basketball? That's an evaluation? You found a fucking freakazoid human that is 6'8", 300 pounds running around on a basketball court like a bear, and people want to talk about, wow, look at the evaluation. Are you fucking kidding me? Like, I don't get it. You saw Georgia sign a guy from Bronny James' AAU team, never fucking played football. He's 6'8", 300 pounds, and you know what they said? I don't know. Maybe if he starts lifting weights, he could play one of the positions that require you to be an abnormally large human.
I mean, I agree with it 200%, and we've never had this conversation, but I agree. I would be taking the top any player in Ohio who's in that top 200, 250 range. Come on down, like come hang out. There's a position for you with the amount of attrition we have year in year out with guys. I forget the corner. Dwayne Galloway. He's another one. He's 5'11", 160. I've been like, yeah, come on, come hang out. You're running what? Oh, he's running what, a 10.5? Yeah, that's okay. We can use you on kickoff. Anybody highly ranked in Ohio, I'd say, hey, come on down and play. And I agree with you. And you look at Georgia's offensive line class last year. We talked about it on signing day. We were like, look at the size of this offensive line. All these guys are 6'5", 6'6", 6'7", 300 pounds. Anybody up there, it's like, hey, we'll just try some coaching. If it don't work out, you go play at Akron or wherever you want to go, but we'll give it a test run because we never know who's going to develop. And we can only play 5 guys and you have 15 in the room. It's worth the risk. So I agree with you there. I think you just bring in athletes, especially at the offensive line position, because a lot of times these are basketball players who weren't quite tall enough, but now you look and they're 6'6", 300 pounds, good feet, good athletes. DeJuan Jones being the prototype for that. And you have a really good offensive line going forward. I mean, I remember we were after Andrew Stargell, and we only had one offensive line commit at the time. And then Jake Cook committed. And they said, he took Andrew Stargell's spot, so I guess we'll just let him go to UCF. And I'm like, we got 2 linemen in the class. What do you mean? Just take them anyway. Doesn't matter. You only have 2.
Q, our guy Dan asked a question in the chat. Who wants to come play for a coach getting vilified 24/7?
It depends on what you're looking at. I mean, we could talk about Twitter and what fans say out there, and I'm sure the players see it. But also, too, I mean, I'm sure you go look across Twitter across the country, people are yelling at coaches. We ain't the only fan base that's crazy. Texas fans are crazy. Trust me, I've met them. Miami fans are crazy. Trust me, we've met them. Like, it goes across the board. So, yeah, while he does get vilified in Ohio State media because we have such a high expectation, I mean, that's something that you got to overcome if you're getting paid $1 million to go coach O-linemen. Like, what do you want me to say?
That's my question. I mean, I have a tweet from 2023 that I quote tweeted, and I said at the beginning of the 2023 cycle, by the end of the cycle, Justin Frye will be viewed as one of the top recruiters in college football.
You struck gold.
That's what I'm saying. Those same tweets get retweeted and laughed at, and you were wrong, blah 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 blah. What positive? What should we say about Justin Frye? I open that question to the chat. Give me some positive things to say about Justin Frye regarding recruiting, because we haven't got on here and completely criticized the offensive line. I mean, we've talked about the improvement of their play last year, how they got. We talked about how Kyle McCord's lack of mobility affected the line and made it look worse. What should we say about Justin Frye that's positive? Because I will clip this up and pin it in the community to pump sunshine for the Justin Frye believers. So, chat, I open the floor to you guys. Give me some good things to say about Justin Frye, and we'll put a recruiting video together so recruits see this and know that Justin Frye is not a villain and they should come play for him.
I mean, it kind of comes, and Dan's not wrong. I mean, people do see it. It's not a good vibe around Justin Frye and the program right now, but also, too, that's what you're in the mood where you're paid to do that. You're one of the highest paid employees in America. Like, or you're probably top, I don't know, 1,000. How many people out there are making $1 million? I don't know. My numbers are probably off, but you know what I mean. How many people out there making $500K, $1 million? Like, that comes with the position. So you better put together a social media team. Like, I've gave Justin Frye credit on here. I've said the players he gets on the field, they perform. Getting guys here is different. And eventually you look at it, when other guys are doing more than Justin Frye, he's going to get criticized. It's not like he's throwing cookouts by himself. offered more guys than people, flying all over country, throwing offers, really putting in the work. It seems like he's doing less than everybody, but we expect the same results. And lucky enough, we've had some Ohio guys or some regional guys recently that have been highly rated or been pretty hyped out as far as O linemen that have come through. But you got to go national. Georgia's up here, Texas is up here. Justin Fry's not even up here. Like,
well, Q, we've waited 2.5 minutes. There's 240 people watching the show, and I haven't seen one positive word about Justin Fry in the chat. If I didn't have to start work in 15 minutes, I would sit here the rest of the day in silence and wait for someone to say something. But I'm at a loss. Like, if you guys have it, I saw someone say you got to give them credit for the Armstrong twins. Do you? Because Justin Fry, they had to twist his arm and force him to get out to Cleveland and even go look at him. And Ted Ginn Jr. was blowing up his phone screaming that I have 2 giant twins up here. Come offer them. So no, I'm not giving him credit for that. When you have to have someone from Cleveland come into the Woody and twist his goddamn arm to come watch them play. Again, as you see with Juck's tweet, he won't even recruit the Ohio kids. I'm sorry. I don't know what you guys want me to say. What program is out here pumping Justin Fry propaganda? I mean, he has personal friends in the media that don't even blow smoke up his ass because they know what's going on. I just don't. I don't get it. I'm at a loss. So if someone could provide something for me, hit my DMs. I'm at 2_TES on Twitter. I will do a whole Justin Fry puff piece if you guys can send the information to me. But it's, again, been 4 minutes requesting for positive words on Justin Fry, and there's 240 people in here. Not a word.
Yeah, and there was guys from Ohio last year that went to other big-time programs that can play offensive line. You talk about Satterwhite. He was, what, 6'6", went to Tennessee, 6'6", like maybe 280, maybe 300, went to Tennessee to go play tackle. Like even the guys in Ohio are leaving because they're not getting offers. So at a certain point, this is Ohio State. If you don't do the job, somebody will. So we can criticize a offensive line coach or not criticize him. Somebody else will take that job and do it because somebody else wants to get paid $1 million at Ohio State. So this is on Justin Fry. This is on the recruiting team. I don't know. Maybe a financial GM could come in here and flip the lineman recruiting. I don't know, but that is what you're paid to do. If I don't do my job, ain't nobody gonna be like, Arian really doesn't deserve this criticism. No, that's what comes with it. So if the podcast sucked, I'm sure you would be like, that wasn't a great show.
Agreed. But on to the rest of the coaching staff before we get out of here. We are just armchair coaches and we have regular jobs we got to get to here shortly. Ryan Day speaks to the media today. Does he name a starter? If he does, it would be the earliest he has in the Ryan Day era. Kyle was named game week. Justin was named on August 19th. CJ August 17th. August 15th is here. Does Ryan Day name Will Howard the starter?
I don't know. I don't know if he names him the starter. I have a more feeling he does than he doesn't, but I'm going to say might wait till the weekend. He might. He very well might, but I'm going to say I think it'll be done by the end of the week or after that. I think we have another scrimmage on Saturday, and not quite yet if it wasn't done after the last scrimmage. So I think it'll wait a little bit. I think it will come at the end of the week.
Chris and I have a phrase. We're not doing this. I'm not falling for it again. They're not going to get me to come out here and champion a different quarterback in this battle. Every indication has pointed to Will Howard. How long can this battle go on before you get back on the roller coaster?
I mean, it's only a week in the training camp. We still got some time. We don't play
but
until
if it's not today, it then extends closer to being named around the time that Kyle was, then CJ and Justin. We assumed Justin and CJ's processes were a formality, so they wrapped up fairly early. Not much hype around it. If it doesn't wrap up in that time frame, does it make you question? Is it more of a battle than it's been presented to be, or are you just? Or is Ryan Day just playing games with us?
I think it has been more of a battle than it's presented to be for Ryan Day not to name a starter yet. And I think you've heard it from the guys strangely not from the media, coming out and saying, yeah, both of these guys, it really seemed like a battle on Saturday. The former players were just out and they were like, yeah, like I get the vibe from one guy that he'll be a starter, but I couldn't just call it just off what I saw because both guys made plays. So I think it is more of a battle. I think it's been good, but I think we know off the offseason hype train of a guy winning a battle before training camp even starts and getting the edge somehow, some way. I think we know which direction this is going, but I think it will go through the week. I think we'll have another scrimmage, and then I think Will Howard will be named the starter.
Yeah, man, I definitely can't do this 2 seasons in a row. I want the best quarterback to play. If that's Will, it's Will. If it's Devin, it's Devin. But man, we've been talking about it's almost lying season. The second that we get a quarterback and officially can say, I know that Bill Oppenhauer or DB33 is our quarterback, I can start lying and talk about national championships and winning the Big Ten and beating the team I'm north. I don't know who my quarterback is, and I want to start lying, but it just feels like this is dragging on forever. And maybe everyone's hinting that we get a starter today. I'm not sure. I mean, the chat seems split. Some people are saying yes, some people are saying no. If you had to guess, do we get a prediction today, and who is it?
I'd say no, but if we do, it's Will Howard. I think it'll wait till the weekend. I don't think it's just yet. So and there's no reason to rush it. I'd say after another scrimmage, like Will Howard really separate himself, and that's what we're looking for in the starter.
Absolutely, and I agree. Like, why? I mean, the beat mentioned it after the first practice. After the first scrimmage, every scrimmage that you let go by, you're leaving the door open for someone to ball out and make your decision more difficult. If you feel like you know who it is, name him. But again, I mean, like a lot of other people said, he doesn't owe it to the media. He can tell us whenever he feels like it. But then at the same time, you can't be mad at the media speculation, the narratives, the people wondering, oh, well, is Will not the guy? Is he not figuring out? Is there another guy that's better? Is Julian Sayin going to be the guy? Like all of this wild speculation when you leave that open. So, I mean, fine. Ryan, you're the boss. You're the one in charge. You make the decision when you're ready to make the decision. But, I mean, there's consequences with the decision. If you decide to wait and drag it out, I mean, you open yourself to speculation. I think it's Will Howard's job. I think we get there, and it's almost lying season. I think Ryan Day makes the announcement today. But we shall see. I also said that Monday. He didn't even meet with the media. But I know he's talking to the media today, so I'm going to have to roll with today. And then Monday, if there's still no quarterback, wild speculation is Aaron Nolan the starting quarterback this year. That's what's holding them up.
I don't participate in lying season, so I can wait as long as necessary.
That's cap. So on that note, I will just let the people know where they can find you for more cap like that.
all truth out here. Y'all remember Josh Proctor? Let me throw that one back up there. First of all, let me give a shout out to my guy Dan. Give him a follow on the timeline. Dan has good tweets. He always puts good stuff out there. It's great to talk ball with, and check out his podcast since we brought him up here today.
The Best Dan Pod with Chad. So make sure you check that out on the timeline if you haven't. Appreciate Dan. Always keeping the conversation going here.
Yeah, but if you want to find me, I am City Boy Quentin on Twitter, Find It Johnson on Instagram and TikTok, and Minor League Films here on YouTube. Appreciate the chat today. Y'all killed it. Make sure y'all like that video. All that good stuff. Ron, where they can find you?
They can find me here weekdays at 8 a.m. for the Buckeye Roast. They can find me on Twitter at 2Ts. That's 2_TEES. We have 255 people watching right now. If you are watching on YouTube, make sure you smash that like button before you get out of here. If you have a Facebook, find the Buckeye Roast fan page. Go to that invite tab. Find as many Buckeye friends as you can and help us get to 100 followers on there so we can start bringing this show to Facebook as well. We appreciate you guys tuning in every day, joining us here for the Buckeye Roast. It's always go Bucks and OH.
Ayo.
Come on,